So as I was saying, I want to use the current Angel Reese storyline as a backdrop to discuss the importance of culture in a program. Something that we talked about extensively on the show before is the importance of culture and how culture is the most important aspect to a program, not talent level, not schematics, not coaching ability, but culture. And culture will always supersede your talent level. It will always supersede all the other variables that come into play when competing for a national championship. And ways to establish culture is through accountability and consistency. And those are the two biggest factors, because accountability and consistency. And you keep players accountable, you keep coaches accountable, and you establish, some people call it a standard, but I like to call it a guideline, because standard is very resolute, but sometimes there needs to be gray area within decision making. But consistency and accountability are the key biggest factors when establishing culture. And early on as a coach, when establishing culture, you have to set a precedent for what you're willing to tolerate and what you're not willing to tolerate. And something that I always talk about is the 4-year rule, that coaches, GMs, whether it be at the collegiate level or the professional level, need at least 4 years to establish a culture within a program. And that's before you start to make any evaluations whether that coach should be fired or not. So you give them 4 years, and then on that 5th year, then you can start to say, okay, should we start moving in a different direction? And with LSU, they are in a very precarious situation because Kim Mulkey came in there and won a championship on the first year. And so she hasn't, despite contrary belief from the public, she hasn't truly established culture yet there at LSU. Winning or losing doesn't matter when establishing culture. You need 4 years to establish the culture. And if winning comes with that, okay, winning comes with it. But you still need 4 years to establish a culture. And Kim Mulkey is a good enough coach, and there's enough talent at LSU for them to win a championship in her first year. But she still hasn't completed the process of establishing culture there, which is why we're seeing stuff like this that's going on with LSU and Angel Reese and other storylines going on in that locker room right now, because Kim Mulkey is still in the process of establishing a culture at LSU. Yeah, they won, but they won off of talent. They won off the fact that the best team in the country got upset in the Final Four, so they didn't have to play them. A lot of factors went into them winning, but culture wasn't necessarily one of those factors. And so this is a great learning opportunity for the program as a whole in terms of establishing the culture, because now what we see, Angel Reese went on a world tour this off season in terms of the recognition and the acclaim and notoriety she was receiving. But now we come to the season, and none of that matters. And that's how you establish culture. That's you let the players know your popularity to the outside world means nothing to this program. What matters here is how you approach the game, how you approach the program, how you approach this setting, this space, day in and day out. And that's what matters most. And Kim Mulkey is keeping Angel Reese accountable, because if you can't, so from all intents and purposes, what my sources are telling me is that Angel Reese has been absent, away from the team, because of her eligibility, because she has a low GPA. Now, are there other factors that come into that? I'm sure there are. But Kim Mulkey has been very quiet, which is her prerogative, rightfully so. She's right that she doesn't owe the media any sort of explanation, but lack of an answer is an answer in itself. It says a lot. And you're left to speculate. And the fact that you're not willing to just give an answer outright says enough for me as as an observer. All I need to know about what's going on, it's telling me that you're Kim Mulkey as head coach is in the process of establishing culture, making sure the culture is the foundation and not the players. And if that means removing your most prominent player, someone who's supposed to be your best player for an extended period of time, then so be it. And so I think this is important. I think this is good for not only Angel Reese, but also for Kim Mulkey and LSU program, because now it shows that no one player is bigger than the program itself, no matter how popular they are. This is good for Angel Reese because it gives her a sense of humility, and it humbles her, and it helps her to understand that there's always more work to be done, and you can always improve, and you always have to be able to buy into a system, into a culture, in order to be a successful player. So I think this is beneficial for both parties involved. It's going to be a growing moment, growing space, but there is a lot of improvement to be made here. And this isn't a death sentence. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the season. It's a growing opportunity. But I like this because it shows that Kim Mulkey is establishing culture. But she has to do it right now, because now, there's a lot of reports coming out with parents of players going at each other on social media, and players having other endeavors that they're delving into, which isn't a problem, but is that becoming a distraction from the season? And so all that needs to be regulated, all that needs to be streamlined. Everything needs to be streamlined back to basketball. And if there are things that are taking your time and your focus away from basketball, then now it's a distraction. And we know that we have to tune out all distractions as athletes, especially when we're locked in on our craft and during the season. And Kim Mulkey is in the process of doing that, of establishing the culture, and understanding that when you're at LSU, this is how we carry ourselves. This is our standard. This is how we do things. This is what we're not willing to tolerate. And you establish that baseline. You establish that guideline. And players are either going to fall in line or they're not. But the culture will always prevail. The culture should never change, and it should never be compensated for the sake of one or two players. If players aren't willing to buy in, then they have to be removed. There's an old saying that if a player that can't be a part of the program and it leaves, only improves it. Because now you cut off dead weight, you cut off weight from the program. If players aren't able to buy in, aren't willing to be a part of the culture, then they leave. That's only a positive for the program, because now you like I said, you cut weight, and you now allow a roster spot. You now allow space for players that are willing, that are able to be a part of your culture and program, and that are willing to buy in. You get space for those players to come in. So that's why it's so important to establish culture, because you get the players that are meant to be a part of your program, that are meant to be a part of your culture. You get them in sooner. And I think this is a great space, great moment right here for LSU, great moment for Angel Reese, for all the parties involved, because it's learning. It's a learning moment. And I'm glad this is happening in November as opposed to March. At that point, it's too late. But it's good that this is happening now as opposed to later on in the season. But let me know what you guys think in the chat room. What do you guys think about this? Is this a good look, bad look for LSU? Good look or bad look for Angel Reese? And is it about culture? Is there something else that's going on with this storyline? Just giving you my perspective on it. But leave your thoughts in the chat room. Leave your thoughts in the comment section. I'd love to hear all about it, guys. And in our next segment, guys, we're going to be discussing the injury updates involving UConn's very own AZ Fudd. So be sure to stick around for that, guys. You're not going to miss it. We'll be right back.